If you touch that lock, Linda, I swear the board is going to hear every second of this. The wind whipped her hair across her face as her eyes widened with outrage. "You're ruining my entire event," she shrieked. I hadn't planned on yelling in a gravel parking lot tonight, but there I was. My hand rested on the padlock while Linda Thatcher barreled toward me like I'd insulted her ancestry. You know that feeling when something is about to explode and you're holding the match? That was me, standing there as the sun dipped behind the private lake. Orange and gold rippled across the water while Linda shouted about overstepping. She always used that word right before she did it herself. My heart raced, not with fear, but with confusion because Linda never cared about the lake. Let me rewind to that morning when I found a neon green HOA notice taped over my peephole. Linda had upgraded from slipping letters under my doormat to blocking my ability to see daylight. The notice was a passive-aggressive half-page about keeping the lake gate unlocked during approved events. But there were no approved events scheduled, none on the website, none on the printed calendar. And only 3 people had keys: me, the treasurer, and Linda. So, by dusk, my mood was already sour when neighbors mentioned unfamiliar cars circling the cul-de-sac. I drove to the lake and found the gate wide open, the sign bent like someone had tried ripping it off. A semicircle of folding chairs sat waiting near the pier. Next to them were industrial-sized coolers and stacked catering trays. Whatever this was, it definitely wasn't HOA approved. I started locking the gate, not to cause drama, but because rules existed for a reason. Last year, Linda's networking night turned out to be her cousin's candle MLM pitch, and I wasn't repeating that disaster. I had just snapped the lock shut when her SUV roared between the trees. Gravel sprayed my shoes as she screeched to a stop. Then she stormed toward me with her heels sinking into the dirt. "What do you think you're doing?" she demanded, like I was a barista who got her order wrong. "Locking the gate." "There's no event booked," I told her. She claimed there was no AHN emergency gathering, supposedly board approved. But the board was me, Simon, and Paula, and none of us knew about it. Linda's confidence wavered when I pointed that out. Her eyes flicked toward the pier, where 2 men in matching polo shirts unloaded another cooler. They looked nothing like neighbors, more like a team preparing for a haul. The lake smelled like trouble and damp secrets as Linda hovered by me. She'd always craved influence, treating the HOA presidency like political office. But tonight, her desperation had a sharp edge. "You can unlock the gate," she whispered, "or you can deal with the consequences." Threats, apparently, were her new strategy. I asked if that was in the bylaws too, watching her composure crack for a moment. She wasn't angry. She was scared, truly scared, of something far bigger behind this event. My eyes drifted back toward the lake as the truth began to surface. One of the polo shirt men opened a cooler, revealing heavy-duty fishing gear entirely beyond our catch-and-release rules. "Linda," I said quietly, "are you hosting a fishing party for non-members?" She didn't answer, and her silence told the whole story. My pulse kicked up as the implications hit me. She'd promised someone access she didn't have the right to give. "It's one night," she said, voice trembling, "just one. But one night could drain a protected lake. One night could cost us thousands in restoration. And one night was all she needed to breach the rules she enforced on everyone else." "You don't get it," she insisted. "I need this." The desperation in her voice was sharp enough to cut. A shout came from behind the gate. "Linda, we need the boats unlocked. We're losing daylight." Boats plural, like this was some organized operation. Linda clenched her fists as if holding herself together. "Unlock it now," she ordered, but I didn't move. The wind kicked up, scattering leaves across the gravel as tension thickened around us. Then Linda lunged forward and grabbed the lock with both hands, trying to wrench it open. Her knuckles turned white, her breath came in ragged bursts, and her voice shook as she muttered that I was ruining everything. The lock held firm while her composure didn't. Behind her, Her so-called guests exchanged looks, clearly impatient. And in that moment, something inside Linda cracked beyond repair. As she turned back toward them, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes, I realized something chilling. This wasn't just a bad idea or a secret event. This was a cover for something much bigger. Whatever she was hiding tonight wasn't ending at the lake gate. It was only the beginning, the spark before the wildfire. And the entire neighborhood would soon feel the heat. This lake is community property, and I have the laminated proof. Karen screamed this at 5:30 in the morning while standing on her porch in flamingo print pajamas. I wasn't awake. The birds weren't awake. The sun wasn't awake. But somehow her voice blasted across the cul-de-sac, like she'd hired a PA system. Her laminated HOA bylaws glinted under the porch light she'd turned on specifically to spotlight her fury. My phone buzzed nonstop as neighbors texted, "Do you hear this? And why is she yelling about sovereignty? And is she barefoot?" It felt like the opening scene of a documentary. The kind where the narrator says no one realized disaster was coming. And honestly, it felt accurate. When I stepped outside, rubbing sleep from my face, Karen was pacing her driveway like a caffeinated trial lawyer. She gripped those laminated pages like evidence for a courtroom that didn't exist. Two confused retirees walking their dachshunds stared as she declared ownership of the lake. "The lake belongs to everyone," she insisted dramatically. "And since I pay the highest dues, I get priority for my VIP guests." Her voice cracked on VIP, like even her throat didn't believe her. Funniest part, no one had ever confirmed she paid higher dues. If anything, she once tried to argue her 2007 house was historically significant to get a discount. She lost that vote faster than she could say heritage, but facts never interfered with her dawn performance. Karen thrived on delusion. "Karen," I said, stepping closer, "why are you shouting before sunrise?" She spun around so fast, her flamingo pants twisted at the ankles. "Because the lake has been locked illegally," she proclaimed. "My guests were supposed to arrive at dawn." "Your guests?" I asked. "The fishing guys from last night." Her gaze flickered, betraying her. Not subtle. Neighbors peeked through blinds while coffee machines beeped inside nearby houses. The air smelled like dew and confusion. "Karen," I said gently, "the gate is locked because no event is approved today." She held up a laminated page triumphantly like she'd found the Constitution. I took it, and the plastic sleeve crackled ominously. She'd highlighted random lines in neon pink, none relevant. "This doesn't say anything about your—" "Whatever this is," I told her. "It says the lake is shared," she argued. "Shared means I can share it with whom I choose." "That's not how shared property works," I replied. Her cheeks turned pink as she sputtered that the board should have made the rules clearer. "The rules are clear," I said. "You just don't like them." She opened her mouth, then closed it, looking like a goldfish rehearsing sass. "You're overreacting," she said. "You woke up the entire neighborhood," I reminded her. "They'll thank me later," she insisted, confidently and wrongly. But then I saw something across the street that froze me. A black SUV idling, engine running, windows tinted. A man inside wearing a fishing company jacket. Karen noticed my stare and snapped, "They're early." "Don't worry about them. Why are they here?" I asked slowly. "Consultants," she said too quickly. "For a project. What kind of project needs commercial fishermen at dawn?" She hesitated, like she was flipping through lies in her head. "A community enrichment initiative." Maybe the least convincing sentence ever spoken here. The SUV door opened and another man stepped out, stretching like he'd driven all night. He glanced at us, then at the lake entrance like he already knew the plan. They weren't here to enrich anything except themselves. And Karen absolutely wanted them on the water. "Karen," I said quietly, "is this commercial?" She shook her head violently. "No, it's mutually beneficial." So, yes, commercial. Before I could grill her further, her porch light flickered 3 times. Her husband signaled to stop talking before she confessed to a felony. She ignored it. My guests have rights, she insisted. They're entitled to access because I pay the highest dues, I finished. A few neighbors stepped outside now, robes and slippers everywhere. Carl whispered, "Are those the same guys from last night?" Karen snapped, "This is private. Everyone back inside." But no one budged. And then the SUV trunk popped open automatically. Inside were nets, buckets, a fish scale, and a banner reading "Tournament Sponsored." Karen inhaled so sharply she whistled. Her laminated papers slipped in her grip. I whispered, "This looks bad." "It's not what it looks like." She lied instantly. "It looks like a fishing tournament on protected HOA property," I said. "It's a workshop," she insisted. "It's an educational demonstration." "With prize buckets?" I asked. "They're props," she yelled. Sunlight crept over rooftops, highlighting this bizarre tableau. Neighbors, commercial fishermen, a trembling Karen clutching her HOA scripture. Her excuses were unraveling fast. She stepped toward me. "Just open the gate," she begged. "Everything will be fine." But her voice shook like she didn't believe it for a second. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. A text from Paula, our treasurer. It said, "We need to talk. I found something in last month's financial report. Call me ASAP." I lifted my eyes to Karen, and she instantly knew the tide had turned. "If the bylaws won't let me in, then I'll rewrite the bylaws myself." That was Karen's battle cry as she attempted to climb our locked lake gate like a furious suburban raccoon with a superiority complex. I had my phone raised, recording everything, because of course I did. Her entourage hovered behind her, some horrified, some pretending they weren't with her, and one guy filming vertically like a criminal. The metallic clang of her sandals hitting the gate echoed through the fog. And the air smelled like wet grass, panic, and HOA-level stupidity. Neighbors drifted toward the chaos like moths attracted to disaster. Karen kept shouting about authority, rights, and her invented provisional jurisdiction over aquatic facilities. It would have been hilarious if it weren't aggressively real. But it was real, painfully, beautifully real. To understand how we got here, Karen dangling like an enraged piñata, you need context. And that context arrived 1 hour earlier with a text from Paula. Paula told me she'd found something odd in the financial report. A 4-figure expense labeled Community Outreach Initiative. That alone raised flags. But the part that made it worse was the loan approving signature. Karen's even stranger was the handwritten note beside it. Lake Event Partnership. Partnership. The word gnawed at me while the neighborhood murmured with sleepy confusion. Paula called back, her voice low like she was hiding behind a plant. "I checked the invoices," she whispered. Karen hired a commercial fishing consulting group for a pilot program. I asked what kind of program, and Paula hesitated. She deleted that part from the record, she said. Suddenly, everything clicked. The coolers, the polished strangers, the dawn theatrics. Karen wasn't just breaking rules, she was monetizing them. She led us back to the present moment of screaming chaos. "Someone get this on record." Karen shrieked as she attempted to swing a leg over the top rung. "I'm literally recording," I said. "Please don't fall." One of her guests jogged forward to assist her, his jacket flapping open for half a second. And that half second revealed a laminated commercial fishing permit clipped to his belt. He noticed the reveal a split second too late. The man quickly covered it, but the damage was done. A collective gasp swept through the crowd like a wave hitting a pier. I zoomed in. Karen froze mid-climb. "Is that a commercial permit?" Someone behind me asked. "No." Karen yelled instantly. "He's a Gaston enthusiast." The fisherman gave a tired smile that said he was done with this job entirely. "Ma'am, we've gone over the contract," he reminded her, gently but firmly. Karen snapped, "Stop talking." The man sighed deeply. You hired us for a harvest demonstration. We can't perform without lake access. Harvest demonstration. The words dropped like a grenade. Karen's foot slipped, and a neighbor muttered. She was going to strip the lake for money. Another whispered, I heard she bought a second freezer. Karen climbed down, landing harder than planned. She spun toward me, eyes wild. Delete that video. No, I said. I am your HOA president, she barked. For now, Paula's voice answered from behind her. Karen turned, and her expression cracked. Paula stood there holding an overstuffed folder, radiating calm fury, the dangerous kind. You misused HOA funds, she said. You misrepresented an event. You attempted to give commercial contractors unauthorized access to protected property. Karen's voice trembled as she insisted we didn't understand. But Paula did. Oh, she very much did. I've called an emergency board session, Paula said. We're voting this morning. Karen sputtered that she couldn't do that without notice. I gave notice, Paula said. 20 minutes ago. Karen's jaw fell open. Paula reminded her she'd used the same rule when threatening to remove Simon over his taupe shed. A couple neighbors snorted. Karen's face turned a stunning shade of crimson. She stared at the lake like it had betrayed her. Then she whispered, You don't know what you're starting. We're starting accountability, Paula replied. Karen's eyes darted from me to my recording phone to the crowd. And something in her changed, dimmed, then sharpened. This isn't over, she hissed. Right then, the fisherman's SUV rumbled to life and slowly backed away. Her guests were abandoning ship. The whole neighborhood watched in silence as the car disappeared around the corner. Paula lifted the bulging folder and said, Board meeting. 10 minutes. My place. Karen swallowed, visibly shaken. I started walking, and behind me, Karen whispered, Cold and trembling, you have no idea what I'll do to keep this position. I didn't respond. I just kept walking. But I'll admit, the back of my neck tingled. Because I believed her.